There have been multiple threats made against U.S. Capitol by a group of masked men who were carrying guns and arrested one person. According to the police, there were no weapons found in any of the buildings. But this doesn't stop the U.S. government from making serious threats on Tuesday that it will use force to defend the U.S. Capitol against any threatening actions. In fact, the press has also published several reports stating that the U.S. Capitol was under threat of violence from a group of hooded persons. Several people have called the federal authorities about the possibility of violence erupting at the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday. The officials have stated that they are monitoring the situation, but no specific details have been given as of yet. A few weeks ago, several incidents of graffiti were found spray-painted on public buildings. But those incidents appear to be related to protests of the NSA programs and demonstrations against the Federal Reserve Bank. It's hard to say what their motivation for the vandalism or graffiti was. The U.S. Capitol is of course a place of Congress and the government's work, but it also houses the offices of many agencies of the executive branch. Several U.S. Capitol visitors was evacuated to the Senate office building after shots were fired in the U.S. Capitol. Some have reported hearing shots during the incidents. The shooters are still on the loose. There were rumors that this is a case of mistaken identity, but the U.S. government has not commented on that reason either. This incident comes at a time when the U.S. Capitol has seen violence before. Just last week there was an arrest of the suspect in a plot to bomb a federal office building in Washington. No explosives were found, but the resulting investigation shows that there were plans to use pipe bombs and other devices that could cause large damage. This incident is another example of the kinds of devices radicalized extremists use to cause mayhem against the general public. One of the most interesting stories coming out involves a Washington state senator who has been under investigation for child pornography. The investigation into this Capitol shooting has become a bit of a media circus. A local TV station even aired a report about it on their website. The Washington Post has also picked up the story. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. It's important to remember that the U.S. government does not view Todd Palin as a sexual offender, but the press seems to see it as clear-cut. In fact, the latest revelation that Todd Palin's own son was arrested over an alleged molestation plot is making the political point of this entire event. We are now having to deal with the fallout from Todd Palin's affair, which may well result in a difficult political campaign for the eventual nominee. Whether or not this actually constitutes violence in and of itself is a different question. But it does highlight how difficult a time this political crisis has placed us in and why we cannot afford to make the same mistake the Arizona state legislature made when they tried to pass a similar bill.